Hey, welcome to episode number 2, The Faith Chronicles, signature number 1. I am super excited because in this episode, I'm going to show you how to do my signature template. We're going to be sewing some petals, using some washi tape, something to do with John Deere, and a few bits and bobs. So all of this coming up right now. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do my template for my signatures that will go inside my hardcover book. So I have my book. Okay, this is from a roll of newspaper that I've had forever. So this is just a roll of newspaper. I have my ruler and I have my bone folder. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this edge and this edge and I'm going to make sure that they are perfectly lining up because I'm going to make a fold. So lining up, and that's my fold. Just going to use my bone folder. If you don't have a bone folder, I really recommend that you get one because it makes it easier to make really nice creases rather than using just some scissors or a ruler. Bone folder, you can't go wrong. Okay, so I have my big piece of paper. Now it is folded. So now I'm going to get my hardcover book. What I want to do is, as I tear the paper, because I'm going to be tearing this, not cutting it, I want to make sure that this is on equal sides so that when I do tear it, it tears quite nicely and I have a nice torn edge instead of a jagged edge. So what I do is I make sure I lift up my spine and I make sure that there's enough paper sort of almost equal on each side. I lift up my spine and I make sure that my fold is touching my spine. Okay, so this is just a little bit tricky here, making sure that that's where it needs to be. Okay, when I do it, I want to make sure that I have at least about 1/4 inch around each side so that my template or my signature pages will actually be on the inside of my book. There are going to be pages that I will be doing that will probably go a little bit over the edge of the cover book, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. So I don't move my template. So first of all, I get my ruler. I just sort of eye it. I don't measure. I'm not really sort of a measuring person when I do my templates. I'm just sort of measuring that and I'm just pushing it over. I'm eyeing it to just see that it's kind of equal on both sides. So up here and down here. That's about how deep I want it. So I'm going to leave my ruler there. What you're going to do is you're going to take the whole corner. I'm going to tear it and I'm going to tear it towards me. And as I do that, I'm going to make sure my ruler is held down very, very firmly. So here I go. Make sure that that's all torn. Remove my ruler. I don't move my template, and I do that once again. I'm going to be doing that the same thing on each side. So I have my ruler. I'm just eyeing it once again so that it's about at least 1/8 inside the book. I take it, my corner, and I make sure my ruler is held down very firmly, and I tear it towards the corner. Just like that. So you have kind of a nice tear. Okay, and then once again on this side, I'm eyeing it, making sure that it's kind of 1/8 of an inch. Once again, hold my ruler down very firmly, take my corner and tear it towards me. Okay, and voila, there is my template. So this template I'm going to be using for when I actually prepare my pages for my signature that will go inside my book. Hey guys, before we get to the signature, I just wanted to remind you that if you're really enjoying this episode, please subscribe and click the bell so that you know the next time that I release my next episode. I would really appreciate that. So, what is a signature? A signature is basically a folded piece of paper with other folded pieces of paper inside of each other. So this is a signature. This is signature number 1. So I'm going to show you this as we go along. So this one is kind of our cover of our first signature. I got this page from an adult coloring book that I got from a secondhand store. There were images in here, so I got my 2-inch hole punch. I punched them out and I put in my own images in there. I just found it on the internet. I really like this page because it already said table of contents. Not like I'm actually going to use a table of contents in this notebook, but I just really liked the page. I get a lot of my images from Pinterest. Pinterest is my friend. So I'm also leaving my art journal link in the description below. So if you want to click on that and check that out, I use a lot of images from the internet. Once I did all this and I just kind of doodled around it and everything, then I put this yellow piece of paper is from a scrapbook paper. I had this little girl, I really liked her, so a friend gave it to me, and so I just fussy cutted her. The sand here, I had small glitter, and so I just put glue and I just put glitter and right there. I did my lines, traced my lines, have a quote right here, went around this one with my Sharpie pen. This image here is from a calendar that a friend gave me. Because this was too small, it wouldn't fit all the way, I had to like add another page. So she's from a calendar. This right here, Light of the World, I made a whole bunch of these text little words for a Christmas project that I did, and I have tons of these, so I'll probably be using a lot of these throughout this notebook. This is my cover of my signature. Another page that's going to be going into the signature number one is this is also, well, I'll tell you where I got this page from later on, but this is 2 pages, and once again, this page was too small, so I had to add another page in here and cut it to size. Once again, the text little sign that I made, this says Covenants. This here I got from this. I've had this forever, for like a long time, and I've never used them. They're like just self-adhesive borders, so I just decided, hey, I will use that up and put that in here, so I have that in here. Washi tape galore, as promised, right? And the back here, this I didn't have to draw my lines. This is a scrapbook page that already had lines in it. Washi tape, this I got from, I think it's Tim Holtz. It's a pack of just these random pictures of people, and I really liked this one. Because this is quite thick, I used double-sided tape to tape this to my page. This I got from the internet. This is from, I will explain later on of where this comes from. But yeah, there is the second page of my signature. It goes in there. This one here I did for another book that I was doing, but I didn't use it. So I thought, hey, well, why not? That's kind of hanging around. So I drew my lines, kind of decorated with my poster paint pen. I just kind of did some dots around, did some washi tape. Again, a little quote I found. It all started with one tiny star. That will go in here. So I'm going to show you the page that's going to go into this first signature in just a minute. Okay, so on to our signature. So I had mentioned that we are going to be doing something with John Deere, and that's true. At the secondhand store, I picked up a book. It's a John Deere biography book, and some of the pages I took out because I used that book for my tunnel book that I have done. So these are absolutely gorgeous. Remember, this is a notebook and not an art journal. I need my pages to be light so that I can see the lines, and I love it because it's perfectly square. It's not a rectangle book, it's a square book. So that's why I chose it. We're going to be using some of the pages from John Deere. So I have my signature template that I've just shown you. And obviously if I open up my signature, so when I do my page, it falls short. That's why I need 2 of these pages. Connect this page with this piece of paper. So this comes from an adult coloring book that I also found at a secondhand store. So I just I already cut it out. I used my scissors here to kind of make an edge on it, make it a little bit more fancy. So how we're going to do this is, before we draw the lines on, because I like to do lines on my signatures for this notebook. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to take the larger page And I'm going to just line up my signature here. Then I'm just going to fold over. Okay. Fold over the page. Okay, that's how far my signature is supposed to go. Okay, so I get a bone folder, and I am making sure it's a really nice crease. So I open that up, and that's going to be my page. So now I'm going to connect this page to this page. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to just tape it down. I already pre-cut my pages. There we go. So remember, this doesn't have to be perfect because that's going to go, my little strip there from my adult coloring book is going to go in the middle. But I do like to make sure that my tape is thoroughly down. So I'm going to use my bone folder. Okay. Flipping it over, doing the back as well. Sure it's down. All right, there we go. So before I start drawing my lines on, I'm going to cut it to size of my template. So once again, I'm going to fold it in, put my template in here, right? Flip it over and flip this over. And now I know how to cut this. So get me my ruler. I have my X-Acto knife. Okay. All right. Putting that to a side. Okay, so now I know that it's that wide. Now I need to do it again, and I need to cut it to size. My ruler again. Okay, there we go. So my signature template goes over there, and that should be it. Okay, so I'm going to put my signature over here. Now I'm going to draw my lines. You're probably thinking, oh my goodness, Carrie, you're going to draw lines on each page. Yes, I draw lines on each page. Because I'm going to be using this as a notebook, I just like to have lines right already there so I can do my notes. If you want to have blank pages, I might have a few blank pages in this notebook, but I like lines. So to do my lines, so my lines aren't off my page by the time I get to the bottom, I have a lined piece of paper. So what I do is the first line at the top, I make sure it's parallel to the edge of my top. Okay. What I do is I get a pencil and I'm going to go 3 down. So 3 lines, 1, 2, 3, and that's where I'm going to start. 1, 2, 3. So what I do is I go through each line and I just make little ticks all the way down, and then I go back and I draw in, or I trace in my lines. Okay, so I am not going to bore you with this part because it's going to take a while. So I will do that and I will come back. Okay, and we're back. So I have drawn all my lines on my signature. Now I'm going to do the back of my signature. So obviously this is way too dark for me to write, and I don't want any of these images. So I'm going to cover those up. So I have found a scrapbooking page that already has the lines drawn on it. And also this is a page from the John Deere book. That's what was in this signature, right? This page and this page and him are from the John Deere book that I got. So that's why I couldn't disclose it, but now you know. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put that aside. What I'm going to do first, so just so you know, when I glue, I get scrapbooking pages that I don't want or that I want to throw out, and I use that to glue down my surfaces, because when I do glue, I can glue the edge and it won't get my board all sticky. What I'm going to do is I'm going to glue, or I'm going to put my glue on this, but only up until the fold. And then I can sort of, with this other page, I can work around that. Okay. Making sure I get my edges really good. And I get my scrapbook page with the lines. Make sure that is matching. I'll cut this off later when these two are all attached. Okay, so I have that all glued in. Glue him in here to this page, to the side. Sure it's all nice and glued. So he is going to be up here. Let's see. Okay, and then I'm going to get the rest of my glue and glue down the rest. Okay. Over. So if that's not entirely glued down, I always can come back with some more glue and glue that down. Then I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to cut it. So I have my X-Acto and I have my ruler. So I'm going to cut it here. So there's one page. Cut it all the way across here. Okay, cut that, and just the top. All right, and there we go. And that's okay if he's not straight for me. That's not a deal breaker. It's all good. So then I'm going to fold it where the fold is, get my bone folder. Okay, hold that down. And that way I don't have to draw my lines. The lines are already on there. Now it's time to decorate my pages. So I had mentioned also before that we were going to sew petals, and indeed we are, but we're going to make petals and we're going to sew it to the edges of our pages here. But before we do that, I need to measure this page inside this signature, because something's gonna happen. So I'm not worried about this one because it's small, okay? But let me show you. So if I have this page in here, and now I have my new page that I just made in here, and what's the problem, right? So I have a lot of excess because these pages are a little bit thicker, which is okay, but I have some excess. So I don't want the excess, right? So I need to cut that because I don't want that coming off too much from the book, because I'm going to have petals there that are already going to be coming off. So what I'm going to do is, instead of just cutting with my X-Acto, I'm just going to draw the line that I need to. Okay? So getting that, my ruler, and then I'm going to cut that excess off so that when it's in my signature, it won't like poke out like a sore thumb. It's okay if some of my pages do, but this one's really going to stick out, especially with my petals sewn. Okay, so I put that back in. And voila. Okay, so when I sew my petals in, that's going to look really good. And that still works. We're going to decorate our pages before we sew our petals on. Once again, here is my little strip, which is going to go right here. And I really like this quote too. Cutting to the truth is the best way. So I'm just going to leave that in there because I really like that. What I'm also going to do for this is I found these little girls. They are so adorable. What I'm going to do is is that I'm going to glue them in, but they're going to be sitting on some washi tape, sort of like a bench. So what I need to do, what I need to make sure of is that when I glue them in, I don't glue them in so close to here because this is where I'm going to sew my petals. I don't want to glue them close to here because then that's my fold, and then they'll get lost in that fold with the other pages. I probably about right here would probably be good. So before I glue them in, oh, and just so you know, I got these images from here. Her name is, and she's found on Etsy, Lisa's Altered Art. I'll actually put her link in the description below. I decided I would like these little girls in my book because they look so cute and so churchy, and they already have their little dresses on. So before I do that, I am going to do my washi tape. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do my washi tape first, then I'm going to put the border on. First of all, I've got two different kinds, and I thought they were quite adorable. I'm going to do the black first. So once again, I just need to see where I'm going to be putting this tape. I'll use my lines as my guide. I think I will put it there. Okay, so I'm just going to put that there. All the way across. That. Now I'm going to do my second row of these polka dots. I am a sucker for polka dots. I love polka dots. So I'm going to just put that underneath there. This is going to look really cute with these petals, you'll see. And I just use my X-Acto and I cut. So that's already looking really super cute. So before I put them on, I'm going to now glue on my border here. First of all, I'll probably measure it so I'm not gluing the whole thing. A little tick here, a little tick here. Get my scissors. So now it's time for the glue. Okay. Glue that down. I'm going to get my Kleenex. Looking very nice. Okay, so my little girls. So remember that I don't want them close here and I don't want them close to my folds. I just got to make sure that I rotate it when I'm gluing because I don't want the glue to be on these little girls. With a very delicate touch. So these gals, okay. Again, use my Kleenex to press, and if any of them come up, I'll just re-glue the little parts that come up, but that looks so adorable. So I'm going to put this to the side and I'm going to start our petals. What I discovered is because I love fabric petals, you can use paper petals if you want. You don't have to use fabric, but since I'm also a textile artist, I just love fabric and I have tons and tons of little bits and bobs. So I'm going to use fabric because I love fabric to death. So what I've discovered is that the length of my page is about 9 inches. What I've decided is that, if I do a petal that's about a 1.5 inch, I can have about 6 of them all the way down. I'm going to be making the petals first. I'm going to be sewing the petals down here and sewing the petals down there. So I made a little template. With a Post-it note, I just measured 1.5 inches and then did my little bubble, cut it out. This is what I'm going to do. So you want to get some fabric and make sure it's big enough so that it can fit the entire petal, plus some extra on the side around the petal. I have this here. I'm going to put that there. I have lots around the side. So I'm going to hold my petal. I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to draw around my petal. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of go a little bit below. Okay, and that's my petal right there. I am doing 12. So I have 12 different kinds of fabric that I'm going to do. Each side is not going to be the same because this is, this is artistic and hopefully this is bright enough and it's fun enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace my petal all the way around on all of these pieces of fabric, and then I will come back and I will show you how to sew them. See you soon. Okay, so onto our petals. As you recall, I have the template, and I put the template on top of all of our little fabric pieces. I traced around it with a pencil, and as you can see, I kind of went past a little bit of where I wanted it to. I'm not going to sew across. I'm going to sew on the trace line. That's the trick of this. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that right now. I keep my pin in. I have an irregular stitch. If you want it on a smaller stitch, that's fine too. Starting that. I go back and forth to begin with because it just strengthens the ends when I fold my petal inside out. So, following my trace lines. If you need to stop and start, go ahead. The whole point of it is this, to stay on the trace lines as much as possible. Okay? All right, there we go. So, just cutting my thread, cutting my other extra thread. Okay, taking out my pin. Okay. So I've got my scissors, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut above this line that goes straight across, just like that. Then I'm going to take some scissors and I'm going to cut around the curve of my petal, trying to give myself about 1/4 inch. So just cutting the curve. Now I'm going to cut out some V's. When I cut it out, I'm only going to cut where it's curved, and I will not cut past my sewing lines because then I would have to start again. So only where it's curved. That way you do that so that when you fold your petal inside out, it will lay flat. All right. One trick is that I'm going to cut the first layer here, not both of them. I'm going to cut only the first layer closer to my stitch line. That's because when I fold my petal back out inside out, I won't have the bulk in here, or I shouldn't anyway. Okay, so I'm just going to cut my first layer a little bit shorter than my back layer, making sure that you're not cutting too close to your stitch line, but it is shorter than your back layer, just like that. Now I'm going to fold my petal inside out. Okay, I have the tip of a chopstick that I use. Just go along my sew line inside, and it just kind of straightens that out. And voila! There is my petal. Before I connect them all, I'm going to iron it down so it stays nice and flat. Isn't that cute? I love that. Okay, so I'm going to leave you once again. I'm going to sew the rest of our petals and come right back. Okay, so I have ironed my little petals here. They're all nice and flat. On each side of the page, there's going to be 6 petals. So we're going to make it into a chain before we sew it to the edges of the page. I'm going to start with one petal. I have white or cream colored thread in my machine. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what stitch that you have it on. When you're sewing this together, you're going to put your needle 1/4 inch away from the petal. So I'm going to start that. Working up. Okay, so as you're sewing 1/4 inch away from the edge of the petal, your needle will be to the edge, but your needle will not be off the petal yet. So if you can see here, I have my needle that's still in the petal. So I get my second petal and I just butt it up against my other petal and I keep on going. You might have to get finicky with this, but just go really slow when you're joining the 2 petals together. So 1/4 inch away from this edge. Okay, once again, putting in my next petal. Go slow. Okay, my next petal. Okay, and my last petal for this row. Okay. And there you go. There is my row of petals. Now I'm going to do the second and I'll come back. Okay, so I have my 2 rows of petals. So I'm going to get my book. So first of all, I'm going to start on this page. So I'm going to put the top of my petal up here on my page, But when I sew it in, almost an inch, not quite, from the top, if you can see that. So these petals going all the way down, so it should look like that. So start at the top. Remember that the petals are going to, the tips of the petals are going to poke over the edge of the page, but that's okay. But you don't want it to be like that and then that's too much, right? So you want the edge of the petal to be in a little bit, so you only have just a little bit of the edge poking out. When you sew the petals to the paper, you want to make sure that you have a wide stitch. If your stitch is too small or too short, then you're going to perforate the page and it will be like almost you're going to tear the page. You want your stitch length to be quite long. Okay, just eyeball it as you go down. Since this petal comes off the page a little bit, I'm just going to fold it under, just so it goes to the edge of my page. Okay, let's cut the strings. Okay, and there is my petal page. So I wanted to decorate sort of something on top of here of the petals. So I found in my stash, either I'm going to use this, it's 100% cotton lace, or I have this, it's cotton ribbon. It's from Moda, but it's a tape, and I kind of liked that. So I think I'll use this to sew over top. I'm just going to cover up. I have my top there, if you can see that. Since this ribbon is quite wide, I'm just going to sew down one side and then I'm going to come up the other side. So making sure that it covers my petals and it's a straight line. I'm not going to take my needle out. I'm going to lift up my feed dogs and I'm going to turn my page, drop my feed dogs and continue across the bottom of my ribbon. Lift up my feed dogs again, put my ribbon through. All I'm doing is turning my page. So when I put this paper through, I'm just going to bend it so it fits through my machine and just keep on going. Once again, lifting up the feed dogs, but not my needle, and turning it. All right, I cut my thread at the bottom. I'm just going to leave this little piece up. I kind of like it. So there is my petals. So now I'm going to do this on the other side. So I wanted to add just a little bit more to the signature to just kind of doll it up just a little bit more, especially on this back page because we don't have anything on the back page. So if you want to watch me do that, that would be great. And here we go. And there we go. That is our first signature. So thank you so much for joining me on this adventure. So please subscribe and click that bell button so you'll know when our next episode is coming out. Our next episode is signature number 2. So thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.